What's going on there, guys? We back with another one, and today we got to talk about Stephen A. Smith just a little bit. Now, a report came out last week that he wanted to venture into late night television and potentially take over Jimmy Kimmel's spot. And it's being reported that Stephen A. Smith, in order for ESPN to keep him going forward, he would like to be the highest paid talent on the network. And he had mentioned this in an interview not long ago. I'm going to play that, but if you look at some of his contemporaries, you look at Troy Aikman, who does the football broadcast on there. He gets 18 million a year. Pat McAfee 17 million a year with his podcast. Joe Buck 15 million. And so Stephen A. Smith right now he's at 12 million annually, but he wants to see that number increase and reflect the many jobs that he does. You look at NBA Countdown, you look at First Take, you look at him filling in on Get Up, you look at him, doing Stephen A's World, and he got his own podcast, which I don't think that has nothing to do with ESPN, but it's another responsibility that he has, and almost like a arm that he's given himself in case these negotiations don't go the way he wants to go. Now, if he was to transition into ABC's slot where Jimmy Kimmel contract is up in 2026, he would still be working with the same bosses that he has because ABC is under Disney as well as ESPN. So that transition would be interesting from that standpoint too, right? Would they like to see him go to ABC and leave, their cash cow sports show? So I was thinking about those dynamics, but let's listen to Stephen A. Smith's own words. Let's peep it.
I woke up one day and I had 4 jobs when I woke up that morning. And that afternoon, I had 0. That will never, ever happen to an unprepared Stephen A. Smith again. It could happen to anybody. It could happen to me again, but not while I'm unprepared. I'm always going to be prepared to be gone.
That's why I started Outkick. That's why I started Outkick, because I didn't want to ever be in that position where somebody could sit across from me and say, you're not employed anymore, and I couldn't take care of my family. That was the reason. So I totally understand the motivation. Is it important to you? You mentioned Pat McAfee. And I always say I root for everybody in media to make more money on each new contract, just like probably every starting quarterback in the NFL roots for the guy whose contract's up to make more. Heck, I hope you get unbelievable numbers. I hope I pick up the newspaper. I still like to read old school newspapers. I see how much money you got. Is it important to you, based on the way the first time ended at ESPN, that you are the highest paid person on ESPN, given the work that you're doing for them? Do you think that should be the case?
Yes. I'm not stuttering. Hell yes. That's absolutely true. Now, I respect the fact if they feel differently. It's not going to be animosity. It's not going to be something where I'm looking at them and I feel like I got screwed. It's a business. And I understand that, and I'm a big boy. But I don't believe it's because of what transpired in 2009. That's water under the bridge. The same bosses that let me go, I'm friends with them now. They explained a lot. They highlighted for me what I did wrong, what role I played. My own mother looked me in the face and said, when are you going to look at yourself? It's real easy to point the finger at them, but you're trying to tell me you didn't deserve. You may not have deserved to be fired, but would you have wanted somebody like you working for you the way you may have acted towards your bosses at that time in 2009? You were a bit out of control. So my own mother told me that. So I don't blame ESPN for that. But here's the thing. I've changed. I've changed for the better. I grew up. And more importantly, I've mastered my own business. In the world of sports television, Clay Travis, I've been number 1 for 12 years. Come April 1st, we'll mark 12 consecutive years I've been number 1. And not only have I been number 1 every year, I've been number 1 every week and every month of every year for the last 12 years. You don't get to say that about too many people. I look at whether it's Pat McAfee, it's Mike Greenberg, it's Scott Van Pelt, it's Troy Aikman, it's Joe Buck, it's Kirk Herbstreit, the list goes on and on. I'm so honored to have the colleagues that I have, that I work with at ESPN every day. I look at other people in the business. I got a bunch of friends at FS1. You know what? Michael Irvin's there, Keyshawn Skip, Richard Sherman, Rob Parker, Chris Broussard. The list goes on and on. Even LaShawn McCoy and Emmanuel Acho and Joy Taylor with her fabulous self. The list goes on and on and on. But let me tell you something. I'm the one that's been number 1. And at the end of the day, it would be nice for one day for this man to stand before everyone and be like, I'm number 1. and this says I'm number one. Now, one would argue that may have been the case years ago before because I got my money and then Troy Aikman, I'm sorry, not Troy Aikman, but Tony Romo got his from CBS or whatever the case may be. But I'm not just a talent. I'm a business. I have my own production company. Like you said, I've got my own YouTube channel. I've got my own show. It's not even just a podcast. It's a show with a fully loaded television studio. That's what I built for myself, that can go linear or digital. The list goes on and on. I'm doing all of these things. I'm not doing all of that to be in second place. I'm not doing all of that to look up at somebody else and see that they're making more than me when I'm producing superior ratings and revenue. No, I'm not doing that. And I'm not apologizing for anybody for it. So,
yeah, man. So you heard Stephen A. Smith, and he referenced what he went through with the network in the past about waking up with 4 jobs and, later that day he had 0. So I could never understand that one statement he made about, all he does is wake up thinking about how to make his bosses more money and how to get him some. Because that tree can be cut off completely. They could cut your branch off that tree and then you can't eat from that tree no more. You know what I'm saying? And so it always knowing that it's business, you could be professional, you could be cordial, but make no mistake about it, it's just your talent. And there's nothing else beyond that they are seeking. So I never could understand why he even said that because that statement was made after he was brought back on. But it's good to see him being proactive and taking initiative to create his studio, putting 7 figures into it so he can go different directions with that. Stephen A can bring in new talent that may not have anywhere to shoot, and they can shoot inside his studio, and he can create his own conglomerate that way. And I think that would be very, very unique for him to do. He's been in it so long, and he knows the inner workings. He has production credits. He knows the way different shows should flow. I mean, he's been on Get Up so much. He's been on NBA Countdown. And Stephen A. Smith has a good enough relationship to go directly to some of these players and have them in. So the network benefits off his presence more often than not. Now, they would have to compensate him fairly for him to stay. But when you make statements like he made, then the bosses figure like, you happy and you're satisfied with what we already doing for you, so why would they do you more? You get what you negotiate, you get what you present yourself as worth in that world. Now they'll smile in your face, give you all the data boys that you want, but in business, show me through compensation how you feel about me. Everything else you can keep. That's just the way I view it. But we will see what happens with Stephen A. Smith. Would he be a good fit to go in the Jimmy Kimmel slot? He's hosted that before, actually, and they did pretty good, 1.7 million in the ratings, I believe. And that's a different ball game as far as ratings and stuff. That's way bigger than sports when you just have such a general audience of people that watch all types of things. They watch late night television in a different way. It's consumed differently than sports and debate shows. So he would be walking into a new arena and doing that. And now it's hard for me to see him continuing to do First Take and doing that at night, but shoot, ESPN already have him up that late doing post-game interviews and different things like that, countdown and all that. So I want to know what y'all think Stephen A. Smith should do after this contract. I think it's up in about 14, 15, no. Maybe about 12, 13 months now, because it says 16 months a few months back. I'm not sure, but it's right at a year, a little over a year he has left, and he can opt out of this thing, or his contract will be up with ESPN. Will the network see the need to continue to have Stephen A. Smith, and would Shannon Sharp be interested in showing up on First Take after Stephen A. Smith? Because I saw some people saying they believe Shannon Sharp would take over First Take. Makes no sense for Shannon Sharp to put so much in the First Take with how Nightcap is doing, how Club Shay Shay is doing. Really, basically, he's just there kind of, with his boy Stephen A. Smith. Would he still come on? I'm not sure after his contract runs up, because the network really doesn't benefit Shannon Sharp in a way where he should take on that as a full-time load, in my opinion. So that's a bargaining chip too, because he's probably just coming on based off his relationship with Stephen A. Smith now. So I know the network would want to continue to associate itself with Shannon Sharp and get the ratings associated with his name and his charisma and what he brings to the screen. So let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Till next time, peace.
Skip tweeted something, and although I disagree with the tweet, and hopefully Skip would take it down.
I'm not going to take it down.
Skip, 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 skip.